Why this one mistake could cost you your kids. Imagine this, you're in the middle of a divorce. You're fighting for your kids, your home, your future. You think you've got everything under control, but then, one mistake, one tiny oversight, rips it all away. Your kids? Gone. Your custody? Lost. And it all comes down to this one thing you never saw coming. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on the biggest custody mistake you could make in your divorce. It's not what you think. It's not about money or arguments. It's something so sneaky, so subtle, that thousands of parents miss it every year, and it costs them their kids. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to avoid it, and protect what matters most. Divorce is messy. It's emotional. It's a battlefield where every decision counts. But when it comes to your kids, the stakes are higher than anything else. Custody battles aren't just about who gets the house or the car, they're about who gets to tuck your kids in at night, who gets to cheer at their soccer games, who gets to be their parent. And let me tell you something, the courts? They don't always get it right. Every year, thousands of good parents, loving, dedicated parents, lose custody because of one critical mistake. It's not because they're unfit. It's not because they don't love their kids. It's because they didn't know this one thing that could have changed everything. And no, I'm not talking about bribing a judge or hiding assets. This mistake is so common, so easy to make, that even the smartest parents fall for it. Before we reveal it, let's set the stage. Custody battles are a game of strategy. One wrong move, and you're out. So, what makes this mistake so dangerous? It's not just that it's sneaky, it's that it happens at the one moment when you're most vulnerable. Want to know when that is? Stay tuned, because we're about to break it down. Let's talk about where this mistake starts, your emotions. Divorce is a roller coaster. You're angry, hurt, maybe even betrayed. You're worried about money, your future, and most of all, your kids. In the middle of all that chaos, it's easy to make decisions that feel right in the moment, but could destroy you later. Here's the truth, the court doesn't care about your feelings. They care about evidence, paperwork, and procedure. And that's where this one mistake sneaks in. It's not about yelling at your ex or missing a court date. It's about something you do, or don't do, when you're signing that custody agreement. And trust me, it's the last thing you're thinking about when you're drowning in divorce stress. Let me give you a real story. Meet Sarah, not her real name, but her story is real. Sarah was a devoted mom, fighting for custody of her two kids, ages 7 and 10. She thought she had a solid case. She was the primary caregiver, she had a stable job, and her ex? Well, let's just say he wasn't winning any Dad of the Year awards. But Sarah made one mistake, one tiny oversight in her custody agreement, and it cost her everything. Want to know what she did wrong? We're getting there, but first, let's talk about why this mistake is so common. Custody agreements are the heart of any divorce involving kids. They're the legal blueprint for who gets your kids, when, and how. But here's the thing, these documents are a minefield. One wrong step, and boom, your custody is gone. And the biggest mistake? It's not about fighting over weekends or holidays. It's about one clause that most parents overlook. Think about it, you're handed a stack of legal papers. Your lawyer says, it's standard, just sign. Your ex is pressuring you to wrap things up. You're exhausted, emotional, and just want it over. So you sign, without reading the fine print. And that's where the mistake happens. There's one clause, one sneaky, dangerous clause, that can give your ex the upper hand and leave you with nothing. Before I tell you what that clause is, let's look at why it's so easy to miss. Custody agreements are written in legalese, confusing, boring, and designed to make you skim. Your lawyer might not even flag it, because to them, it's just another checkbox. But to you, it's the difference between seeing your kids every day, or every other weekend. Or worse, never. Back to Sarah. She signed her custody agreement thinking it was fair. It gave her joint custody, 50-50 time with her kids. Sounded good, right? But buried in that contract was one clause that her ex's lawyer slipped in. It seemed harmless, just a few words about decision-making authority. Sarah didn't think twice. She signed. And that's when everything fell apart. Want to know what that clause was? Hang on, we're almost there. Alright, here it is, the one mistake that could cost you your kids. Not understanding the legal decision-making clause in your custody agreement. Sounds boring, right? But this clause is a game changer. It's the part of your agreement that decides who gets to make the big decisions for your kids, things like school, medical care, even where they live. And if you're not careful, it can give your ex total control. Here's how it works. Most custody agreements split time with the kids, maybe 50-50, or every other week. But time is only half the battle. The legal decision-making clause determines who calls the shots. If it says joint decision-making, you and your ex have to agree on everything. Sounds fair, but what if your ex is impossible? What if they block every decision just to spite you? Worse, what if the clause gives your ex sole decision-making? That means they decide where your kids go to school, what doctor they see, and even if they move across the country. And you? You get no say. That's what happened to Sarah. Her agreement gave her ex sole legal decision-making power. She thought joint custody meant equal control. It didn't. Her ex decided to move the kids to another state, and Sarah couldn't stop it. She went from seeing her kids every day to barely seeing them at all. All because she didn't read, or understand, one clause. So, how do you avoid this mistake? It's simple, but it takes effort. Step 1. Never sign a custody agreement without reading every word. I know, it's tedious. But your kids are worth it. Step 2. Hire a lawyer who specializes in custody, not just any divorce lawyer. They'll spot sneaky clauses like this one. Step 3. Demand clarity. If the agreement says joint decision-making, ask what happens if you and your ex disagree. If it says sole decision-making, fight tooth and nail to change it. Here's a pro tip: ask for a tiebreaker clause. If you and your ex can't agree on a decision, a neutral third party, like a mediator, steps in. It's not perfect, but it's better than giving your ex all the power. And if you're already stuck with a bad agreement, don't give up. You can petition the court to modify it, but you'll need evidence and a good lawyer. The key here is to act before you sign. Once that ink dries, changing a custody agreement is like climbing Mount Everest. But it's not impossible. In our next segment, we'll dive deeper into how to fix a bad custody agreement, and how to spot other sneaky clauses that could ruin you. But before we do, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss the next tip. It could save your custody. We're just getting started. There's not just one clause that can cost you your kids, there are 3 more you need to watch out for. Want to know what they are? Stick around, because in the next part, we're exposing the secrets your ex's lawyer doesn't want you to know. Drop a comment below. Have you ever signed a custody agreement without reading it? Let's talk about it. If you thought that legal decision-making clause was the only trap waiting to steal your custody, think again. There are 3 more sneaky clauses that could destroy your chances of keeping your kids, and most parents sign them without a second thought. Stick around, because we're about to expose these traps and show you how to dodge them like a pro. Let's dive into the first one, the relocation clause. Sounds harmless, right? Wrong. This clause dictates whether your ex can move your kids to another city, state, or even country. Imagine this: you've got joint custody, everything's going fine, and then your ex gets a job offer 1,000 miles away. If your custody agreement has a loose relocation clause, or worse, no restrictions at all, they can pack up your kids and leave. You're left fighting an uphill battle in court, spending thousands just to see your kids for a weekend. Here's a real story. Meet John, a dad who thought he had a solid custody deal. He and his ex shared 50-50 time with their daughter. But buried in the fine print was a relocation clause that allowed his ex to move up to 200 miles away without his consent. Guess what? She moved 199 miles away, just under the limit. John went from seeing his daughter every week to once a month, and the court wouldn't budge. Why? Because he signed that agreement. Don't let this be you. The second sneaky clause? The modification clause. This one's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It sounds like a good thing. After all, who doesn't want the option to change their custody agreement later? But here's the catch. A poorly written modification clause can make it nearly impossible to change your agreement, even if your ex becomes unfit or your circumstances change. Let's break it down. So your ex starts neglecting your kids. Maybe they're missing school or not getting proper care. You think, no problem, I'll go back to court and fix this. But if your modification clause requires substantial evidence of harm or a significant change in circumstances, you're stuck. Courts are strict about these rules, and strict means your kids could be in a bad situation, while you're drowning in legal fees trying to prove it. Take Lisa's case. She signed a custody agreement that seemed fair, joint custody, shared decisions. But a year later, her ex started drinking heavily, and the kids were coming home upset, saying he was scary. Lisa went to court to get full custody, but the modification clause required clear and convincing evidence of danger. She couldn't afford the private investigator or the months of legal battles to prove it. Her kids stayed in that environment, all because of one clause she didn't question. Ready for the third clause that could cost you your kids? It's called the right of first refusal. Sounds fancy, but it's a double-edged sword. This clause says that if one parent can't watch the kids during their custody time, they have to offer that time to the other parent before hiring a babysitter or leaving the kids with someone else. Seems fair, right? Not always. Here's the problem. If your ex is manipulative, they can abuse this clause to control your life. Imagine you're called into work late, and you need a sitter for an hour. Instead of calling your mom or a trusted neighbor, you have to call your ex first. If they say yes, they get extra time with the kids, time that chips away at your custody. Worse, some exes use this clause to track your every move, demanding to know why you can't watch the kids. It's a power trip, and it's written right into your agreement. Let me tell you about Mike. He was a single dad, working hard to provide for his son. His custody agreement had a right of first refusal clause, and his ex used it like a weapon. Every time Mike had a work meeting or even a doctor's appointment, she'd swoop in, take their son, and log that time as extra custody. When Mike tried to modify the agreement later, his ex argued she was the primary caregiver because she had more time with their son. The court agreed. Mike lost primary custody, all because of that one clause. So, how do you protect yourself from these sneaky clauses? It's not easy, but it's doable. Step 1. Read every single word of your custody agreement. I know, it's like reading a phone book in Latin, but your kids are worth it. Step 2. Hire a lawyer who eats, sleeps, and breathes custody law. Not a general divorce lawyer, a custody specialist. They'll know what to look for. Here's what to do for each clause. For the relocation clause, demand specific limits. Say, no moves more than 50 miles without mutual consent or court approval. For the modification clause, push for flexible language, like changes in the child's best interest. That gives you a fighting chance if things go south. And for the right of first refusal, set clear boundaries. Maybe it only applies if you're unavailable for more than 4 hours, or it excludes trusted family members like grandparents. Pro tip: negotiate these clauses before you sign. Once the agreement is locked in, changing it is like trying to rewrite history. But if you're already stuck with a bad clause, don't lose hope. You can file a motion to modify your agreement, but you'll need solid evidence, like proof your ex is abusing the clause or endangering your kids. And yes, that means more legal fees, so prevention is always better than the cure. Let's wrap this part with one more story, because this hits home. Meet Emily, a mom who thought she'd won her custody battle. She had 50-50 time with her twins, and her agreement seemed airtight. But there was a relocation clause that allowed her ex to move within reason for work. 2 years later, he took a job 300 miles away, claiming it was reasonable. The court agreed, and Emily's twins were gone. She now drives 6 hours every other weekend to see them. All because she didn't question those 2 little words, within reason. Emily's story isn't unique. Thousands of parents lose custody every year because they didn't see these clauses coming. But you don't have to be one of them. Knowledge is power, and now you know the traps to avoid. In the next part, we're diving even deeper into the mistakes you're making before you even get to the custody agreement. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. We're not done yet. The custody agreement is just the tip of the iceberg. There's one mistake you're probably making right now, before you even get to court, that could sabotage your entire case. Want to know what it is? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because the next part could change everything. Drop a comment below. Have you ever dealt with a sneaky custody clause? Share your story. We've exposed sneaky custody clauses, emotional traps, and the importance of a killer lawyer. But there's one final mistake that could undo everything you fought for. It's not about signing the agreement or how you act during the divorce. It's what you do after the ink dries. This mistake is so common, so easy to make, that it's costing parents their kids every single day. Let's dive in. Here it is. The biggest post-custody mistake is failing to enforce or monitor your custody agreement. You fought hard, you signed the papers, and you think you're done. But custody agreements aren't set it and forget it. If you're not watching your ex like a hawk, they could violate the agreement, skip visits, make unilateral decisions, or even move your kids without telling you. And if you don't act fast, the court might say it's too late. Let me tell you about Karen. She had a solid custody agreement, 50-50 time with her son, clear rules about school and medical decisions. But her ex started bending the rules. He'd forget to bring their son for weekend visits. He enrolled their son in a new school without her input. Karen thought it's not worth the fight. But by the time she went back to court, her ex argued that the new normal was working fine. The judge agreed, and Karen lost half her custody time. All because she didn't enforce the agreement from day one. Here's the deal. A custody agreement is only as strong as your willingness to enforce it. Your ex might test the waters, miss a drop-off, make a decision without you, or accidentally ignore a clause. If you let it slide, you're setting a precedent. The court might see it as you agreeing to the changes, and that can weaken your case if you try to fight later. Enforcement isn't about being petty, it's about protecting your rights as a parent. Let's break down the biggest post-agreement mistakes. Number 1. Not documenting violations. If your ex skips a visit or breaks a rule, write it down, date, time, details. Take screenshots of texts, save emails, even record conversations if it's legal in your state. Number 2. Waiting too long to act. Small violations add up, and if you don't address them quickly, the court might say you're okay with it. Number 3. Not involving your lawyer. Don't try to handle violations yourself. Get your lawyer to send a formal letter or file a motion. It shows the court you're serious. Here's another story. David, a dad who shared custody of his daughter. His ex started making medical decisions without him, like changing her doctor. David didn't want to rock the boat, so he let it go. A year later, his ex filed for full custody, claiming she was the primary decision-maker. She used David's silence as proof he didn't care. The court gave her sole legal custody. David's mistake? Not enforcing the agreement when it mattered. So, how do you enforce your custody agreement without losing your mind? Step 1. Keep a detailed log. Every missed visit, every broken rule, write it down. Use a notebook or an app like Custody Exchange. Step 2. Communicate in writing. If your ex violates the agreement, send a polite but firm email or message through a co-parenting app. Say something like, per our agreement, you're required to notify me about school changes. Please follow the terms. It's professional, and it's evidence. Step 3. Get your lawyer involved early. If your ex keeps breaking the rules, don't wait. Have your lawyer send a cease and desist letter or file a motion for contempt. It's like a legal warning shot, and it shows the court you're not messing around. And here's a pro tip. If your ex's violations are serious, like moving your kids without permission, ask for an emergency hearing. Courts move fast when kids are at risk. If you're already stuck with a violated agreement, don't give up. You can file a motion to enforce or modify the agreement, but you'll need solid evidence, your log, emails, even witness statements. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Your kids are worth it. Let's recap everything we've covered, because this could save your custody. First, we exposed the legal decision-making clause, the sneaky trap that gives your ex control over your kids' lives. Then, we revealed 3 more dangerous clauses, the relocation clause, which can let your ex move your kids far away, the modification clause, which can lock you into a bad deal, and the right of first refusal, which can turn into a power grab. We also talked about the pre-custody mistake of letting your emotions control your behavior, those angry texts or social media rants that can tank your case. And finally, we just uncovered the post-agreement mistake of failing to enforce your custody terms. These mistakes aren't just legal technicalities. They're the difference between seeing your kids every day or watching them slip away. But you've got the power to avoid them. Read every word of your agreement, hire a custody specialist, control your emotions, document everything, and enforce your rights. You're not just fighting for custody, you're fighting for your kids' future. You've made it to the end, and now you're armed with the knowledge to protect your kids in a divorce. But knowledge is only half the battle. Action is everything. Don't let a sneaky clause, an emotional outburst, or an ignored violation cost you your kids. Start today, review your custody agreement, talk to a lawyer, and take control of your case. Your kids are counting on you. If this video helped you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're dropping new divorce and custody tips every week. Tips that could save your family. Drop a comment below. What's the biggest custody mistake you faced? Your story could help someone else avoid the same pain.